everyone, I am ARHartie, blogger and joy strategist at chasing-joy.com, and this video is one many of you have been waiting for. So if you've been following my channel for a long time, or maybe you're new to the channel, in that case you might not know this, but those who've been following for a while know that I started making regular content for this channel way back in I think it was 2015, when I decided to become a single mom by choice, and I documented my entire fertility journey. I'd had the channel prior to that because I have a blog, chasing-joy.com, where I write about ways to encourage women to have more happiness in their life, specifically before they're unhappy. So I had this blog and I did these local events, and I was pretty transparent about my life and things I'd been through, difficult things, and how I had still made happiness a priority in my life. And it felt inauthentic to share that much about my life and not share this huge decision that I'd made to become a single mom by choice. And so I started documenting that part of my life here on this channel, in addition to the other videos I would do here or there about things related to chasing joy. So many of you have been following along since those TTC days, trying to conceive days, and all the noise you hear in the background is baby Joy Chaser. So I was eventually successful and had him almost 3 years ago. So the question that I am asked regularly, especially by people who've been following this YouTube channel for a while, is, am I going to have baby number 2? And I am going to answer that question in this video. So like I said, this is the video that many of you have been waiting for. So I'll start out by saying I just turned 41, actually only a few days ago. And as I was approaching 41, I said, I have to kind of shit or get off the pot, as they say. I need to make a decision about this. Back up. Thank you. You want to say hi?
No.
Okay. Baby Joy Chaser does not want to say hi. So I said I needed to make a decision. So in a perfect world, I would have been married to my Mr. Right, my Mr. Joy Chaser, that's what I call him, many years ago, and we would have spent a year or two just being newlyweds, and then we would have attempted to make a baby and been successful and done everything very traditionally. So obviously that did not happen. We do not live in a perfect world, and I am still hoping to meet or identify my Mr. Joy Chaser and get married one day. But that didn't happen, and so I, decided to have a baby by myself. So had that perfect world happen, I always wanted multiple kids. I never wanted to just have one. I grew up in a family with 4 children. I'm the youngest of them, and I have 3 older brothers. Only one that I'm really close to is actually in my life for the most part. So yeah, I always imagined multiple children. So, and when I started trying to get pregnant with my son, I didn't know it was going to be a son, but when I first started trying to get pregnant, I thought I was going to be pregnant within a year or so. I got started right after my 35th birthday, so I imagined having a baby at 36, and thought I'd probably then have another one at 38, 39. But yeah, again, it's not a perfect world. So it took 2.5 years to have him. I found success through IVF, and I have 2 embryos left. I had 5 to begin with. I did not test them for chromosomal abnormalities, so I don't know the quality of them. They were graded very high. My first 2 transfers did not work, and my third one was successful after a few changes. One, I did an ERA, so we adjusted the timing of the transfer so that I would have 12 additional hours of progesterone. I also doubled the amount of progesterone that I had been taking because I had a feeling that I wasn't necessarily getting enough. I don't know why. I'm a bigger girl, so I thought maybe I needed more because I'm, plus size. My nurse said that has nothing to do with it. It might just be the way my body metabolized it, but either way, I needed more. So I asked them to test, and they realized it was lower than they would typically see on the dose I was on, so they doubled it. And then it was successful. So I don't really know if the success came from the changes or if the previous 2 embryos were not chromosomally normal. But anyway, that left me with 2. And so here we are. It's getting time for me to decide because I'm paying for storage of these embryos. And if I'm not going to use them, there are definitely better places to spend my money. So if I took bets, I'm sure many of you would guess that my answer is that I'm going to try for baby number 2, just based off things that I've said in the comments of like Tamika TTC, she goes live here on YouTube, and I have commented in her comments, and what is her name's Sandra, but I can't remember what her YouTube is. Anyway, whenever I comment on her videos, she's like, I'm waiting for you to talk about trying for number 2. So, in my heart, I definitely want more than 1 child, but it's not just a heart decision at this point. It's a heart and a head decision because I already have baby joy chaser over here that I have to think about. So, a lot of thought and prayer have gone into this decision. And I'm just going to kind of walk you guys through my thought process. So there are, I want to say, 4 things. I know that was a lot of silence for me to count to 4, but I think 4 main things that concern me about a second baby. So the first thing that concerns me is paying for daycare. Daycare is super expensive, and I dug myself into a bit more debt than I realized going through the first TTC process. I'm supposed to do a video, and I owe you guys a video because I talked about doing this video many times about how much it actually cost me to have a baby, and I cannot bring myself to do the math. I still have all my receipts from all the medications, all the failed attempts, the failed IUIs, and I just cannot bring myself to do the math. I think I don't want to see it written out and added up, but it's a lot. It's more than a car. It's more than a car, like a nice car that I said. Maybe not the nicest car, but definitely more than, the average nice new vehicle that someone's driving around. It's what I spent on trying to have my baby, and I have no regrets, no doubts, but it definitely left me in more debt than I'd like. And so what I pay in debt payments, plus daycare, then to like double the daycare, is kind of scary. So that was one thing. Another thing that really worries me about having a second baby is having to have a C-section. So if you've been around for a while, you've probably seen the video. If not, go back and check out the video that's my traumatic birth story. So if you check that out, you'll see that It was not easy to get him out, and it was actually an emergency situation. I wasn't even aware at the time. I realized that a few days later. So because of all that happened, and you can check out that video if you want to see all those details, there's a high likelihood that I would have to have a C-section. I actually asked the gynecologist at my last visit, and she said because of what happened, I could do an elective C-section where I pick a date and everything. But I wouldn't be automatically eligible for being induced. They would decide that based on some other factors. Because my thought was like, well, maybe I could just be induced at 37 weeks. A little early, that's still technically full term, but a little earlier, and like maybe hopefully avoid what happened before. But she said they don't typically do that, so it would probably be a elective C-section, or depending on what's going on with the baby, they would then later on decide if they want to induce. But that's not a decision that I could make like early on. So I'll probably have to have a C-section, and then it's like, well, I'm a single mom by choice, so who would be taking care of me if my recovery was hard? And I can't see the future. I like to think that my recovery would be on the easier side of normal, but I have no way of knowing. I know my nieces and nephews, their mom had C-sections each time, and their dad felt like her recovery was really, really difficult every time. Now her situation would be different, possibly, if I did an elective C-section, because hers was like an emergency one each time. And everything I hear that the recovery is worse if you have to have an emergency C-section after trying to deliver vaginally. So lots of things to consider, but all of that is scary. All of that is scary, and like actually having to have a surgery, and like who would be here to help take care of baby Joy Chaser, to help take care of me and a new baby, because there's no spouse, right? So that's the second thing I'm kind of worried about. The third thing is childcare in general. So prior to the pandemic, my niece would watch Baby Joy Chaser twice a month, and I had some flexibility at work where I could have some days to myself here or there while he would still be at daycare, which allowed me to be like sane and pretty happy a lot of the time, which is how I like to be. However, this pandemic has kind of taken all that away from me, and it's been really hard. So then the idea of like a second baby, most of the people who helped me watch Baby Joy Chaser are family. Really all of the people, I would say, up until very recently, have been blood relatives who I absolutely trust. But they have their own lives, and they're like not natural child caregivers. Like they're not like, oh, let me watch the baby. Like they're like, oh, I want to spend time with him. But typically I need to ask when I need, an actual babysitter situation. That depends on what they're doing. So I'm like, well, now adding two babies, that's a lot. So I might have even less childcare. So that was like the third thing I worry about. And then the fourth thing, well, I guess there's technically five. The fourth thing is just going through a pregnancy with a toddler. Just what would that be like? How hard would that be? And then like taking care of two babies, what would that be like? And then lastly, you always kind of I think every parent, when they're thinking of a sibling for their kid, or even if they know a sibling, it's like, will I have enough love like for both of them, kind of thing, and how much will our life change? There's almost a little sadness there, like, oh, it won't be just the two of us, and our special little family. Like our special little family would grow, and that would be awesome, but you definitely be saying goodbye to how things are. So those are like the things that I was really thinking about in making this decision, and kind of putting off making this decision. So at the beginning of the year. By the way, today is like March 22nd, I think, when I'm recording this. I hope to get it out soon for you guys. But editing and stuff takes time. Everything takes time when you have a little person, right? So yeah, then I'll be possibly adding another little person. So that's other, like, basically how would day-to-day life be? How much harder would it be? But anyway, so thinking about all of that, and as I got closer to 2021 started in New Year, I decided to do a fast. Now, I can talk about in a whole separate video how 2020 and this pandemic experience has been a lot of spiritual growth for me, and for many reasons. And I've never done any kind of spiritual or religious fast before, but I decided to do one at the beginning of 2021. So I did a modified Daniel fast where I couldn't do regular Daniel fast. It was a little strict for me, where I didn't think I would have success. But I basically did no meat, very little dairy, very little processed foods, no breads, no caffeine, no, I'm trying to remember. I don't remember what all. But I did this fast, and it was a spiritual fast. So I set aside several different things that I wanted to pray about, and I prayed about them every single day over that time. And then I read scripture. I read the book of Daniel, and I focused on this fast. And so at the end of the fast, so one of the things that I was praying about, was should I try for baby number 2? And so the fast went on, and I'm not a person who feels like, well, I won't say feels like, I've not had an experience where, like, I heard God's voice, like, specifically saying for me to do or not do something. What typically happens for me is things fall into place, or they fall out of place. And so toward the end of this fast, things started to fall into place. So I'm trying to think. The first thing that happened was I have a therapist that I started talking to during the pandemic, and we were just talking about my childcare issues right now, right? And I was saying I was trying to find a childcare provider outside of my family members, like someone who actually wanted to do childcare for income, so that would be someone who would be looking for opportunities to babysit, who I could hire to be like Baby Joy Chase's regular babysitter. So when family and things were not available, this is the person I could call. I'd have to pay for them, but I could call on them, and they would be more available and more willing to alter their schedule to help me, because this is what they're doing for work. You have to go potty? You gotta go potty? Okay, he said no. So I was talking to my therapist about it, and I was not having any luck on care.com. And she said, well, what about like your network? So I decided to go through my entire Facebook, which is a lot of people. And I remember there was this one girl that I hired to watch Baby Joy Chaser when I did a Chasing Joy event. So I was there in the room with them, and she watched him. And I knew her from her doing childcare for my church when we would have our life group. So I reached out to her, and she said she was not doing babysitting right now because of the pandemic, but when the pandemic was over, she'd be happy to be our regular babysitter. So I was like, yay. So that made me feel really good, though it didn't solve my immediate need for trying to get more help during the pandemic, because I don't have daycare available right now. But it was like for a long term, like, okay, if I have a second baby, like that's, a person who could be the regular babysitter to help out. And then like 2 days later, I got a response on care.com, and it was a young lady who needed to work the exact days that I needed help. And so that was part of the problem most of the people in care.com want to work 5 days a week because, again, this is how they're making money. You gonna say hi now?
But I want to open and see.
No, we can't open it, but you can say hi.
But we can't open it?
No, because I'm using it.
Oh.
Yeah, he's talking. I have the no. I have the camera. No, it's not yours. Hey, you can talk, but you can't touch.
Why feel sad?
Oh, I'm sorry you feel sad.
Can we play these?
When I'm done, we can play with that.
Okay.
Okay, but you gotta wait for me to be done. Watch your show until I'm done.
We can't.
I have the camera like sitting on this box of, and it has some little toys in there that he's not played with ever. But now, of course, he wants to play because I'm using the box. But anyway, so this young lady needed the exact days I was looking for. And so she came, and I might do a whole separate video on what it's been like having a babysitter. But it's been really good. She's come once a week during the week on my busiest work day. And that's been super helpful. And then she came for the first time on a Saturday evening when I was celebrating my birthday recently. Back up. Baby Joy Chaser's too close to the TV. And if you remember, he already broke one. He's not allowed to get that close. So the childcare situation has greatly improved with having this babysitter I'm using now and a potential second babysitter. Along with I still have my family who helps me out. So that made me feel like, okay, that's like one thing kind of checked off the list in terms of things I've worried about. Not that the worry is gone, but it definitely makes things seem a little more feasible. Another thing that happened was I remembered that a guy that I knew from high school and college posted on Facebook that his wife started a doula service. And so I reached out to her about how, her postpartum doula rates and how that works. And it seems like it would be a good fit. It's expensive, and I definitely have to put, money aside for that. But it seemed like something that could work for me, that I could hire her for those first couple of weeks, especially if I need a C-section. But even if I didn't, as I adjust to 2 babies, I didn't do a doula or anything before. And I don't even know that I'd need a doula during the birth, but like the idea of like, okay, if I do need a C-section, I can hire this lady that I've chatted with her, and it very well could work out. Plus I have these child care providers. So that makes me feel a lot better about the C-section possibility, though there's definitely some scares there. Then the other thing that kind of fell into place was, I own my home, sort of, like I still have a mortgage, but it's in my name. I'm not a renter. And you get these emails from your mortgage company, and I got one, and it was like, click here if you want to pay less money per month. So I clicked it, not thinking anything of it. They called me immediately and offered me a rate that was like half the rate I've been paying. It's gonna save me like $200 per month off of my my mortgage payment. And I'm like, well, that's money that can go towards daycare. It's not like full cost of daycare, but it's definitely $200 extra that are suddenly available, and that I can use to save more now, and I can apply towards debt now too, to kind of knock some of that out before before I would really attempt to bring home a second kid. So that happened. So all these things started to fall into place right at the end of this fast. And by the end of the 40 days, I'd also lost 13 pounds. And I have kept that off, the 13, even though I've introduced meat back to my diet and sugar and different things. But I also started working with a nutritionist during the fast, and that has been helpful as well. So the reason the weight is important is because, I worry about being pregnant. My pregnancy before was pretty good. But I did have like a racing heart issue that is very annoying. It seems to be hormonally related more than anything else, but definitely makes me feel like I want to go into a pregnancy, if I were to do one, as healthy as possible. And losing weight is one required by my clinic because they do have a 40 BMI cutoff even for their embryo transfers now, which that wasn't the case a few years ago, though the doctor tried to tell me it was. But I don't know, my nurse was really good, so maybe my nurse, I know they padded my number a little bit before, so maybe my nurse was just more lenient than now, because it's a new nurse and like talking to the doctor. So I don't know, but I have to get my BMI down. So losing those 13 pounds was really good towards that. I mean, I still have room to go, but it definitely put me in a range where I was like, you know what, I've lost these 13 pounds, puts me in a position where it at least makes sense to I can get some tests and things done. So all those things kind of falling into place, along with my desires. And so all this being said, this long 25 minutes that I've been talking is I am going to be trying for baby number 2. There's a few steps that I'm going to do first. I am losing weight, so I have to continue doing that. But I'm going to get started with the test. I'm going to be doing, I want to do another ERA test, because that was helpful with the timing. I've been pregnant. I'm older. I don't know what my hormones are doing these days. So definitely, and I only have the 2 embryos to try with. So I definitely would want to give them the best possible shots. I'm gonna do an ERA, plus what other normal tests that they want you to do before you get started. So my weight, I'm gonna keep working on that, but I'm gonna work on it while I'm getting these tests done. And so it begins the journey towards baby number 2. So wish me luck and baby dust and blessings and cross your fingers and all those things that I'll be able to give a baby Joy Chaser a sibling in about a year. So we'll see what happens. But that's my thought process and all the things that I was considering. And I've come to the conclusion that I'm going to try it. I'm prayerful about it, and some things start to fall into place. I'm hoping that this is God kind of answering this for me. It's scary, but it's always scary. When you're going to have a child, I don't think anyone has zero fears, but I'm excited about it and nervous. But I'm going for it, right? So, really quickly, another thing that I had worried about, how much harder would it be? And I do think some things would be harder, but my brother even pointed out, and I can kind of see it with this pandemic experience, is that he says certain things are easier when there's more than one kid because they have each other. Because this pandemic, it's just me and him most of the time. He's looking to me to be everything. The playmate, the toy, he's jumping on me, his entertainment. So I don't get any break. Whereas if there were 2, they would play with each other and entertain each other, especially after a little bit of time. And that's another reason, I kind of want to do this now. I don't want there to be too much of an age gap. Like I said, baby Joy Chaser will be 3. And if everything goes, according to plan, which we often know that they don't, but you never know. If everything goes according to plan, he'd be almost 4 when a second baby got here. And I feel like that's a good gap because he, right now, is able to listen. You hear me telling him to back up and he'll back up. So his listening skills, his ability to behave will be better in a year, which will be good for me. Because my fear was how do you have 2 kids and get them in the car without one running into traffic, So I feel like he'll be older and able to listen more, which would be better for me. but not so much older where they can't play together. And also, I don't want, like, certain things are becoming easier as he gets older. And it's like, I don't want things to get too easy and then try to have a second baby. And it's like, oh my gosh, this is so hard. Like, I kind of want to just knock it all out while things are hard and then let things get easy altogether. Like, kind of go through this point in my life where I'm raising small children and then kind of be done with that. So, there it is. That's the plans and the answer to the question you guys have asked the most, which you probably had kind of figured out already, but I'm definitely going to go for baby number 2. And I am starting the process, and I will be bringing you along for the ride just like before. So expect more content coming in the form of TTC videos, but also expect more content, just Chasing Joy content in the way of the Chasing Joy show, which launched just last weekend on Saturday night in episode 2. If I get this video out like I want to, you'll be seeing this on Friday, and the Chasing Joy show episode 2 will be coming out the next day on Saturday at 10 p.m. Either way, expect wonderful, exciting new things from the channel, both Single Mom by Choice, TTC related, and Chasing Joy related. Anyway, there you have it. Best of luck and baby dust to all the people trying to conceive. And let me know what you guys think in the comments. If you have 2 kids, how or more, how far apart are they in age? What advice do you have for me with preparing the first kid for a possible sibling? And what do you think about what I'm going to do? I feel like I'm crazy, right? I was crazy to go this route to begin with. Even though it's wonderful, it's still a lot of work, and it's not always fun or great or pleasant, but it's by far extremely rewarding and I have no regrets. So I imagine it'll be similar with number 2. Super hard and crazy, but amazing. So that's all I have for now. Thanks for watching. Let me know if you watched to the end. I always have a special place in my heart for those who watch the whole videos. Okay, I will be back with another update on trying to have baby number 2 soon. Bye.